First and foremost, what we want to talk about is activism, but if we're going to talk about activism, we need to know what it is that we mean when we say it. We want to know what it is that we're talking about. Now, the dictionary definition of activism is a policy or action of, I can't even read it, of vigorous campaigning to bring about social or political change. What does that mean when we translate it into real life? It means that when we are active, when we take our actions to bring about a change around us in the society, in our family, in our communities, that is what we are active in. It is our activism. And you may find yourself active and being active in a cause. You may find yourself being active in international affairs. You may find yourself being active in bringing about social change. You may find yourself being active in politics, but it is activism nonetheless. And actually, it's really, really important because activism is the state of the believer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about believers, talks about those that He brings to life. And by definition, life means change, because only the dead stand still. Only that which is dead is stagnant. That which is alive moves, it changes, it develops, which is why there are those of us who are alive but still dead. Because day upon day upon day upon day upon day, our state with Allah remains exactly the same. There is absolutely no change. And so whilst we are breathing and moving and seeing and speaking, we're dead. Pure and simple. Unless and up to and until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings us back to life. Inshallah, Ya Rab, we are all alive, and He, the holder of our hearts, will maintain and keep those alive. But by definition then, a believer has to be an activist, by definition, because you have to change. You have to be an activist upon your own soul, and then you have to be an activist upon the community and the society around you. And what does that mean? We have failed our covenant. Our rage has a color. Our rage has an ethnicity. Our rage has an age and it has a gender, and that is a problem. That is when we fail the Muhammadan activism. That's when we fail our covenant. Because we fail to remember that He, peace and blessings be upon Him, did not see the color, but to recognize the beauty of God. He, peace and blessings be upon Him, did not see the age, but to recognize the mercy of Allah. He, peace and blessings be upon Him, did not see the gender, but to recognize how its opposition had brought beauty into this world, how the man and the woman had brought beauty into this world by being complementary to one another. We, on the other hand, are blinded by it. Muslim activism, self-serving, appropriation, yes. Self-serving, absolutely, absolutely, and disgustingly so. Disgustingly so. We recognize the picture at the top. The picture at the top is of the girls that were kidnapped. Bring back our girls. We were all demanding it. Bring back our girls. How dare you take them? The picture at the bottom, 147 Christians in a university were killed. Gunned down. They went, are you a Muslim? Can you recite the Shahada? No. Point blank, killed. Point blank. Where was our rage? Where was our rage? Because they're Christian, right? So we don't have to rage, because it's not our problem. It's somebody else's problem. They're the wrong faith. That's our problem. Self-serving? Yes. Black Lives Matter? Yes, they do. When after hundreds of young black men have been killed by the police, Black Lives finally hit the airwaves. People finally started to say this was wrong. Where was the Muslim rage? When did Muslims stand up with those and share that hashtag? But just a few weeks after, when the Chapel Hill shootings happened, we appropriated Black Lives Matter, and Muslim Lives Matter started to trend. That's appropriation. That's appropriation in the worst possible way, because it's appropriation that we as Muslims, our cultures have been appropriated for years. For centuries, people have been stripping our culture, stripping our lands, stripping our women, just taking. And now we're doing exactly the same. What makes us different? Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam should have made us different. He tried. He did everything. He is the perfect being. The flaw is within us because we can't see it. So what is the prophetic example? I'm going to give you two stories. And I want us to try and understand from those two stories, I want us to compare and contrast those two stories from the seerah of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. In one of the stories, and it's a very famous story, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, owed some money to a Jewish man. Or he owed something to a Jewish man. I think it was dates. He owed something to a Jewish man. And prior to the contract for when the payment was due, prior to this, the man came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and grabbed his blessed coat and pulled him so close that his spittle was falling on the face of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and said to him, Muhammad, you do not fulfill your trust. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You do not fulfill your trust. Sayyidina Umar, it is said, may Allah be pleased with him, that his anger was such, his eyes rolled into the back of his head. And he took out his sword and he unsheathed his sword and he said, Ya Rasulullah, give me permission to strike off his head. And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, grabbed hold of his sword and pushed it back into the sheath. And laughing, smiling, laughing, turned to him and said, Ya Umar, you should counsel me to pay my debts. You should counsel me to pay my debts. And you should counsel him to have patience. Now go and get the dates to pay his debt and give him extra for the fear that you put in his heart. Give him extra for the fear that you put in his heart. This is the beloved of God. This is the one for whom when people insulted him, Allah sent angels down and said, we will destroy them with the mountains, Ya Rasulullah, just give us the command. Because Allah will not stand for that which insults you. This is the beloved of God for whom, when the insult was upon him and upon his character, these were the only people who were not forgiven on Fath al-Makkah. Not the disbelievers. Don't believe in Allah, but don't you dare insult my beloved. Don't you dare insult my beloved. The Prophet of God, his example, Umar, give him extra for the fear that you put in his heart. So, story number one, how do we behave with those who don't believe us? Who are not believers. Story number two, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and Sayyidina Abu Bakr is sat. And the people from the Quraysh come, and they begin to insult Sayyidina Abu Bakr. And they insult him, and they insult him, and they insult him. And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is smiling. He smiled. And then they realize that, well, we're not getting anything out of insulting Sayyidina Abu Bakr. May Allah be pleased with him. So they turn to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and they begin to insult. And this is not acceptable for the Siddiq. The Siddiq does not take this. So he begins to respond, really? Okay. And at which point, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him's color shifts, as it would when he got angry, peace and blessings be upon him. The vein in his temple begins to throb, as it would, peace and blessings be upon him, when he got angry. And he stands and he leaves. Sayyidina Abu Bakr is perplexed. Ya Rasulullah. So he runs after him and says, Ya Rasulullah, they were insulting me and you were smiling. When they insulted you and I began to defend you, you got angry and you left. I don't understand. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Ya Abu Bakr, Ya Abu Bakr, when they were insulting me, when they were insulting you and we stayed silent, the angels were defending you. We had the defense of the angels. But when you began to respond, the angels left. Their role was finished. They went. What does he counsel the believers to? Patience. What does he counsel the believers to when there is injustice against a disbeliever? Stand up. Stand up. That's the Muhammadan model of activism. The Muhammadan model of activism is not self-interest. Am I saying that that means we don't defend the oppressed? Absolutely we defend the oppressed. Sayyidina Umar raised an entire army because somebody had the audacity to try and draw a Muslim woman without her clothes on. Because somebody drew a picture, he raised an army. Because she wrote him a letter. Ya Umar, this is what is happening. This is what is happening to you, the people of your community. Where are you, Ya Khalif? He raised an army. Yes, we stand when our Muslim brothers and sisters are hurt, but we stand far quicker and with far more might when those who are not Muslim are hurt. You know why? Because that's how the message of God is spread. Because that is how people know that when they go to a believer, they can trust them. When they go to a believer, it doesn't matter whether it's for or against the believer will stand on the truth, on justice, on that which is right, on that which is honest.